Welcome, everyone. This is Acid Roots, and we're going to do a surprising number. So, that is Drake and his debut album, Thank Me Later. So, when this record came out, um, he was one of the most anticipated artists of a long time. If you remember Snoop, 50 Cent, those type people, well, Drake was pretty much the one for this decade. And he had quite the hype. He had every guest that he pretty much wanted on that first album, and really there was just, most people, what they wind up doing on their fourth or third record, he was doing on his first one. So this translates into something, but partially the reason as to why it's strange for me is just because it's different from rap albums. So when I think of something like Tech Nine, Yelawolf, Bizarre, these sorts of cats, it's a real wild card being played, and so adapting to that has been a challenge. But I will say I understand that sometimes these smoother, more you know just smooth songs being played are necessary, and so that's like the main thing. If you listen to a record like the Yelawolf record that I have said, and then you switch to this, it's going, you're going to be thinking, where are all the knockout beats? That's really something that I had a problem with, but it's not. It doesn't end it as long as you have the ability to have an open mind. That's the one thing that I think is most important going in. Most people are probably not going to have this problem. I understand that Drake is quickly becoming, more than a household name, but for cats who have listened to rap and they know this left and right, it winds up being strange. So this is, of course, this was 6 years ago that this came out. So now we've got various records that are going to be very similar to this. And I think, really between this and 808s and Heartbreak, main thing about it is it's got some good moments. I do think that this is a great debut. But alright, can you smoke to this? The answer is I feel like the format to this is really strange as far as trying to know where exactly I would like to play it. Obviously, you've got the car, you've got your house, but there's not really dance club records. There's not really, backyard records or just, summertime type jams and that sort of thing. So it's really got different formats in mind. And I'd say, obviously one of the main focuses on this record is for females, but when that translates into more than just being around them, supposing it's integrated, where do you go from there? So that, you'll find one of the closest records I felt to like that was an album cut that you might hear from a regular rap person was Over, and with that, it still felt kind of. I mean, the truth. I guess what I'm trying to say is Drake's strength is in his singing, and so it's kind of like a rapper who does not have good songs when it comes to switching things besides the gun talk. So that is this. It's the opposite with Drake. He kind of, it's a little shaky when thinking of songs like what does he do besides talk to women. That's kind of the thing. I mean, you get some of these ideas, but there just aren't necessarily like full-time records that show this. So Over is one, Up All Night, Fancy, kind of. You're just going to have to listen to it and decide. That's like the main thing, but we'll talk more about this in a minute. The production, Yeah, I guess I didn't really note any smoking songs, but I explained why. Um, the production, I really there weren't beats on here that just completely blew me away. Which I'm used to, like the Lil Jon records, the Dr. Dre beats, the all these the 3 6 Mafia beats, that sort of thing. But we just didn't get it. I feel like Over is probably one of the best beats. Up All Night is another one. The Resistance is pretty good. And then I'd say Shut It Down. Those are like the 4 best instrumentals on here. But the unheard songs, which are songs that you may not have heard, but I think you should probably give a shot, are I like 7 songs out of 14, and one of them is called an interlude. So I'd say that there's probably 13 songs. That's that's middle of the road, a little bit better. So the songs I liked were Karaoke, The Resistance, Over, Show Me a Good Time, Up All Night, Unforgettable, Find Your Love. Now we will talk about these. The main thing to know is the strength that really gets played a lot, and it's something that you may not have seen up to about 2009 or 10. That is the way that a rap song is now becoming a rather more melodic. It's got singing in it as opposed to rap verses, rhyming less important, and a general more lighter tone to the songs. And really, this was not seen terribly much before that. So there's just been folks that have taken on the style, and it's really the timing of this was just impeccable. Just because out of 2008, 2009, when music was going which and what way, this just spearheaded something, and now this is where we're at. So, but songs like Find Your Love, Show Me a Good Time, The Resistance, and there's one more, I can't remember what it is. I'd say Karaoke. Yeah, these are songs that showcase this singing. I think if it doesn't make you relax, you'll definitely want to chime in with Drake as far as when he does this. It'll just keep you balanced. But there were other songs like Over was kind of these attempts at making rap songs that kind of had more brazenness to them, but I'm still kind of on the fence, mainly just because of Drake's beat selection. But I mean, the guest being there shows that this should work. So Unforgettable was a good one, and Up All Night was pretty good with Nicki. That's probably one of the best songs as far as a rap cut goes. But this is just something you got to pay attention to. I think you'll definitely notice that this is what we've got. So, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, so the score, I'm gonna give this record I'm gonna give this record a 6.5 out of 10. Is because 7 out of 13 is really that is pretty solid, but it still is, it's got a skip and a jump to make a perfect record. I think a lot of people will be able to ignore this, but the main reason for some of these other records that I did not like were because I really could not see myself listening to them outside of just reviewing it. And like, I felt like the Lil Wayne song, I wasn't feeling that. Really, I mean, I like the fact that we're going in a new direction, but that's kind of, when he doesn't sing, it's kind of like So what are we going to like Drake for right now? That's kind of the question that comes up. Is, I think he knows that we like it when he sings, but you got to have more assets than that. And so whether or not these come up, this is just a question mark, and it was on this album. So I mean, as his later records go on, we'll see what happens, but that's pretty much the only question. Most people are playing Drake for the smoother songs, and I think that that's like the main thing. I would like to have more Drake songs that I could actually play and not feel kind of tame if I were to do that. But it's a question mark right now. It's like the main thing. A lot of folks are going to notice that, so we could use a little bit of like Tech Nine or Yelawolf and Drake somewhat. I think it would really work out well. But the future, Drake has probably got plans for this year. We're only 10 days in this year, so look out for that. There's plenty more of Drake I could review. The social score, I will give it a 7 social just because it had hits off this album. There's songs like Fancy that also charted, so there's more. I feel like a lot of people are going to know. Some people might call this like an urban classic, really just, it might have the makings of it. Rap tends to get those often enough, but there's just so many good CDs that just because it's not the Chronic does not mean it's not a classic. And so you never know what hands are going to be played. But so can it be topped? I think the answer is yes. But considering this new style, it's definitely pretty endearing. So subscribe for more fun. I give this album a 6.5 and a 7 social.